Hello, my friends. This is Tosif here, back with another live stream as I'm um, trying to rearrange the cables here for my devices. How are you all doing? It's a beautiful Saturday night, and as you are joining, please write something in the chat window so that I know who's here. And I see a couple people are here already. If you would please write something in the chat window, that would be great. We're going to be talking about, you know what the topic is? You probably know, right? Because you saw the title of this live stream. I'm going to be talking about the solar eclipse, that's coming up. It's exciting. So my friends, I'm going to wait for maybe another minute and allow time for more people to join. As you are joining, please share your thoughts about the solar eclipse that's coming up. We're less than 2 days away from the eclipse. Who's here, my friends? Oh, I see more people have joined. Hello. Please write something in the chat window. I'm going to start the discussion here very soon, but I want to hear from you. Who's here? And okay, let me just ask you, are you from, oh, Terry is here. Terry writes, wind is blowing hard in South Dakota. Well, it's the wind of freedom, Terry. It's the wind of freedom. So enjoy the wind. As the wind comes, you get to feel freedom, because South Dakota is a free state. South Dakota people, they love freedom. All right, my friends, are you in any one of the states that's in the path of totality? Okay, so the path of totality is where people are going to be able to see the total solar eclipse on April 8th. Are you in the path of totality? Are you in Texas? Are you in Oklahoma? Are you in Arkansas? Are you in Missouri? Are you in Illinois? Kentucky, Indiana, Ohio, Pennsylvania, New York, Vermont, New Hampshire, Maine? Are you in any one of these states? I can tell you where I am. I am in Wisconsin. We're not gonna be in the path of totality, at least not this time. But the neighboring state of Illinois will be in the path of totality, and I think small parts of Tennessee and Michigan will also experience the total solar eclipse. I learned that 15 states are in the path of totality. 15 American states. Okay, there seems to be a lot of excitement building up about this total solar eclipse. People seem very, very excited. There's a lot of anticipation, excitement. And I don't know if everyone's excited. I think some people are a bit nervous. There are those who are a bit superstitious, and they don't really have good feelings about this eclipse. So I don't know which group you fall in. Are you excited or are you nervous? It's a scientific matter, but then there's spirituality involved, various cultural beliefs. So anyway, different people have different thoughts about this eclipse. I mean, it's pretty amazing. We're going to be here on this earth, as we are always, except for the astronauts. They get to go to outer space. Anyway, we are here on this earth, and we're going to be looking at the moon, at the sun. We can see the sun, and the moon is going to be moving in to block our view of the sun. So between the earth and the sun, the moon will be moving in, and that will be the eclipse, right? The eclipse. And then obviously the moon will move out. So the actual eclipse is just going to be a few minutes. But people are traveling from various parts of the world to get to the United States to enjoy this event, to experience. I don't know if it's going to be a lot of enjoyment. I don't know about that, but to experience this event. And for a lot of people, as it's being said, that it's going to be a once in a lifetime experience. Okay. Now there are some individuals who love to experience total solar eclipse, and they travel to different continents. So they have the schedule of all the eclipse dates, and they travel to different countries. They book their hotels or whatever accommodation they prefer. They book their flights. They plan ahead, years ahead sometimes, and they go and view the eclipse. So it's very interesting. Um, People have different tastes, and they enjoy different things. So obviously there are individuals who kind of chase all these events of solar eclipse. Um, anyway, my friends, this highly anticipated event is just what, 2 days away, less than 2 days. And so what's happening is that a lot of schools are closing. A lot of schools are closing um, in these states that are in the path of totality. In fact, I just found out that in Illinois, like 60 schools, 60 or more, I think. So let's just, to be safe, let's just say dozens of schools. Dozens of schools are closing. They're closing, and the rationale is that the schools want the students to be able to enjoy this once in a lifetime or once in many years experience. So that's one reason, and the other reason is there's a lot of uncertainty surrounding the eclipse. Is there going to be a lot of traffic? Will there be a lot of how do I say it? I mean, let's just say, oh, okay, let me see. Terry has a comment here. When I was in school, eclipse was a science class. Okay, so did you experience an eclipse in a science class, or during your science class, did you get to experience it, Terry? I'll wait for you to respond. But anyway, I mean, there are lots of uncertainties surrounding this eclipse. And, obviously, one of the things that people are talking about is, oh, Terry says, yep, went outside. Oh, that's wonderful. So you got to enjoy it while in school, right? So you just went outside and experienced the eclipse. But now a lot of schools are deciding that they're just not going to have classes that day. They'll let the students stay home and enjoy the eclipse. All right. I think there are some concerns about maybe what if some students they stare directly into the sun without the safety glasses. What happens then? Who's going to be responsible if there's any eye damage, whatever. I think there are liability concerns. That's what I'm guessing, although I'm not sure 100% about it. Anyway, so one of the reasons is Terry writes, enjoy the 15 minutes. Terry, are you going anywhere to view the eclipse? You're staying in South Dakota, right? Or are you gonna go to some other state? Okay, Terry is now commenting about public education, and Terry writes, no, Very strongly, emphatically, Terry writes no. So Terry is not going. Terry is not going to Oklahoma, Arkansas, Missouri, Illinois, Kentucky, and the entire list of 15 states. Terry is not going to any of these states to check out the solar eclipse. Okay, so Terry will be at an American Legion auxiliary meeting. Okay, that's a wonderful way to spend time, Terry. The American Legion. So yeah, that's wonderful. Spend time with the veterans. Okay. All right. So let me just check one thing out here. All right. Okay. So there is that one aspect that the reason why schools, some schools are deciding, not some schools, many schools are deciding that they're not gonna have classes that day is because they want the students to be able to enjoy the solar eclipse if they choose to. Okay, and the parents can decide, right? Parents can make the decision and make sure that the kids have the proper glasses. Um, and the other reason is there's a lot of uncertainty because in the states that are going to be in the path of totality in those communities, you don't know what the traffic will be like. And then there's the other thing. I have seen reports that many scientific experts are saying that during an eclipse, people may have different emotions. They may feel anxiety. They may cheer. They may applaud. They may cry. Um, People react in different ways. Okay, and I have also seen an interview of a law enforcement official. Um, I think I should have the link to the interview somewhere on my phone. Excuse me. But during that interview, the law enforcement professional said, sorry, something got stuck. The law enforcement professional said that during an eclipse, there are, the cases of domestic violence may go up. Okay, that's a pattern. And also road rage. Road rage happens a lot during eclipse. So they are asking people to be patient, to be calm, and to be prepared. Okay, like get gas for your vehicle. Okay, just have a full tank of gas, and then get groceries ahead of time, and you know so on and so forth. Just be prepared. Okay. And let's see. Terry is writing, fear mongering about it doesn't help. Well, I don't know if it's really fear mongering. I mean, law enforcement professionals, they see certain trends, I guess. Okay, I'm not a law enforcement professional, so I can't really speak for them, but I think there are certain trends, and people, from their experience, law enforcement professionals are able to tell what kind of crimes take place during certain events, and eclipse being an event. So they see a lot of road rage, they see a lot of domestic violence, and maybe there's some scientific explanation there's a scientific explanation for why people become more emotional during eclipse. Anyway, Teresa Ross is here. Teresa Ross writes, "Hello, Tassif." Hello, Teresa. Thank you for being here. Now, Teresa, you are in Arizona. Let me just check the list. Okay, it doesn't seem like your state will be in the path of totality, right? Teresa Ross writes, some are saying that it might interrupt phone service. I have heard that, Teresa. I have heard that, and I'm concerned about it. I'm going to be keeping my phones charged, and I plan to have groceries at home. I mean, I do have groceries at home. Is there anything else I need? No, I think I'm good. And I don't know what's going to happen. There are lots of questions. So you can talk to the scientists, and the scientists will tell you things that they can prove, that they have a scientific explanation for. But let me just tell you, science is only what we have proven, what we know for a fact, right? And things that may seem beyond science today may be explained by science in the future. So there are limitations to science as we know it. All right. We often hear things about like, oh, that's not scientific, or science can't explain it, or that's not true according to science. But we forget that science is evolving, because we are learning new things, we are discovering new things, we are finding explanations for previously unexplained things. And so science is basically what we know, what we can prove, what we have an explanation for. And there are many things that happen in this world that cannot be explained by science. Now, that doesn't mean those things are not true. It's just that science, our scientific knowledge, has not evolved to the level that would enable us to explain what's unexplainable as of now. So it's my way of saying that many things happen during an eclipse. I believe that. People may feel strange emotions. Some people may feel excited and happy. Others may feel sad. And we shouldn't say that it has no connection with the movement of the planets and the movement of the stars, because obviously the creator created these planets and stars for a reason, right? Everything happens for a reason. So I do believe that when the law enforcement officer says that road rage and domestic violence, those cases become, those cases increase during an eclipse, and not just an eclipse, even during a full moon. So I think there's some kind of an explanation which scientists may not be able to give now, but maybe in the future. So anyway, it's kind of hard to differentiate in some. Well, I shouldn't say that. Well, what I really want to say is that sometimes it's hard to draw the line between science and superstition, right? What's believed to be superstition may have a scientific explanation. Perhaps we don't know that. Maybe 100 years from now we'll figure out what the explanation is. But people have lots of superstitions surrounding eclipse, and some of it may be cultural. In certain parts of the world, eclipses are viewed in a certain way. In certain parts of the world, people are excited about the eclipse. They want to experience it. They want to see it. They take time off from work, or they travel away from home to go someplace from where they can experience the totality of the eclipse. And then in other parts of the world, people may believe that eclipse is a bad thing. It's a bad time. Bad things can happen, and you should stay away from eclipse. You should not view it, or do something else. Just follow certain guidelines, spiritual guidelines or cultural guidelines. Anyway, it all varies, and people are free to decide what they want to do. Let's see. Okay, let me see what Terry is writing. So Terry seems to be hearing a lot of different comments about the eclipse. Terry, I see your comments here. Okay. So Terry, what are your thoughts about the eclipse? Do you think everything's going to be okay? Or will there be some disruption to phone service, as some are anticipating? Or will there be greater numbers of road rage and domestic violence cases? Do you think, or do you think everything's just going to be normal? I was reading an interview, and this professor, I forget what the name of the professor is and what university he is in, but this professor was saying that during an eclipse, people react in all kinds of different ways, and he was saying how he feels very, very alert. And when as he is observing people around him, he sees that some people are cheering and applauding, and some people are crying, as I mentioned earlier. So people react differently, and obviously, uh, it's not something that we can uh, we can avoid. uh, we have to deal with. Okay, Terry writes, tell me why how phone service is interrupted. I don't know that, Terry. I don't know. Okay. But I have heard that, as Teresa Ross mentioned. Teresa Ross wrote, some are saying that it might interrupt phone service. So from Teresa's language, I understand that Teresa also heard it from someone else, because she referred to it as, some are saying. That's the same thing I'll say. Some are saying that cell phone service may be interrupted. I don't know exactly how it's going to happen. I don't know what happens in the atmosphere. I don't know what's going to happen scientifically in terms of gravity. The planets have gravitate. The planets and the moon, they have some kind of gravitational pull, right? That's how we get the tides, the high tides and the low tides, because of gravity. And so I don't know what's going to happen. You're going to have the Earth, you're going to have the sun, and then the moon is going to move in between the Earth and the sun, and it'll be the totality. But how exactly is it going to interrupt phone service? I don't know, but I'll pay attention. I'm gonna have my phone here in front of me on the day of the eclipse, and I'm gonna watch the bars. Okay, the cell service bars. Anyway, uh, Terry writes, I wonder why people act those ways at a football game. Oh, I don't know, Terry. Maybe that's another event. Maybe there's some scientific explanation for that. Obviously, at a football game, it's different, right? I mean, you people go in with anticipation, and they want their teams to win, and there's a little bit of joy, there's a little bit of aggression, because obviously football is an aggressive sport. People are colliding and pushing each other, and so folks get excited. By the way, I grew up in Bangladesh, so by football I actually mean soccer, although I know Terry is referring to football, the kind of football as we know here in the US, NFL, right? So Terry is referring to NFL, but I grew up calling soccer football. I never used the word soccer growing up. It was always football. And that's the football as in like the FIFA World Cup, right? In which you actually kick the ball towards the goalpost, and you can't touch the ball. So that's what I always knew as the sport football. And after I came to the US, obviously I had to change my terms and language in everyday conversation. And now football is, NFL and Badger football and Packer football and Vikings football. Anyway, uh, that goes back to the changes that immigrants sometimes have to make uh, when they move to a different country with different terms, in the same language. Let's see. Teresa writes, they get crazy at the game if they bet money on it. Okay. Um, it's called you assimilated into America. Exactly. So I actually had to change a lot of different things. So I grew up using different spellings. So for color, um, rather than COLOR, which I now use in the US, I grew up writing COLOUR, and favor would be FAVOUR. And there are lots of different words in spelling, like program, PROGRAM. That's the American version. The British version that I grew up writing is PROGRAMME. So there was an extra M and an extra E after program. So those are the kinds of spellings that I grew up learning, and then I had to change all of that after I came to the US. Like similarly for the word organize, I grew up writing SE rather than ZE. So ORGANISE, organize. Obviously, when I say Z, that's not what I called the letter as I was growing up. I called it Z, and now it's called Z. Uh, anyway, interesting stuff there. Let's see. Billy writes, a lot of people are trying to change America into where they came from. Yeah, I think that's obviously true in many cases, but people come here for a reason, and my explanation always is, you come to America for a reason, right? You want to be here, you want to be a part of this country. So why would you want to change America into the country that you came from? Because that doesn't make any sense. You want to be here because you love America, because you want to be a part of this society, right? um, so anyway, I always identify myself as a proud American because that's who I am. That's who I am. And so I was up on a stage on March 12th doing a speech, and I said, how should I introduce myself? Well, I'm just gonna say I'm a proud American. So that's how I introduce myself. So let's see some comments here. Um, so Billy writes, kidding me, we tore up our own language. I think language evolves, generally speaking. I'm not an expert in the history of language, but I do know that language evolves. So think about 30 years ago, before, 30 years ago, or just go back like, um, I don't know exactly. Should I go back 30 years ago or more? Anyway, 30 years ago, I was a little kid, and um, communication was very very different. In terms of, excuse me, I'm still getting these allergies because the weather is now nice. I'm gonna get these allergies. So anyway, um, before the evolution of phones, okay, before we started texting using cell phone, um, how did we use language? And then cell phones came, and then the way we communicate started changing. Okay, like instead of thank you, people now write ty, as in like thank you. Okay, and what's really ridiculous, sometimes I see people are wishing each other happy birthday rather than saying happy birthday. They just write HBD. I mean, what does that mean, HBD? So, um, and for a lot of the younger people, okay, um, the kids who were born after smartphones arrived, they are growing up in an entirely different world. Okay, I mean, back when I first started using cell phones, obviously I used to text, but a lot of the cell phone use was just making phone calls, right? I mean, that's the purpose of having a phone. You make a phone call and you talk to people. And then texting became more sophisticated and people started texting. But now, communication has, in many cases, moved entirely to texting. So people are moving away from having conversations and just texting. And so we adapt, and I adapt, and I know a lot of people who prefer to text, and that's what I do, and that's fine. That makes sense. But it just makes me wonder that the the cell phones were invented because people wanted to be able to talk while being on the move. And then texting came as an addition, as an added benefit. And then the world eventually evolved so much that texting became a huge part of everyday communication and culture. And so, we do a lot more texting nowadays than we do the actual talking over the phone. So anyway, what I enjoy doing is coming here and talking to all of you because I get to talk. I get to share using my language, using my facial expressions, using my words and my voice. So I enjoy that. Anyway, let me see some comments here. Billy writes, I grew up in Brooklyn until I moved out. I had to correct my words so I didn't sound ignorant. Okay. Well, I don't know what word specifically you're referring to in terms of Brooklyn, but I know that even within the same country, different depending on what state you're in, what city you're in, people have certain terms that they use. Anyway, Terry writes, texting abbreviations are different than language. Generational variances come and go. Exactly. So when I wish somebody happy birthday, I'll usually write happy birthday. I'm never going to write HBD. All right. I mean, for thanks, you may write THNX, thanks, right? I mean, because we say thanks a lot. But in terms of happy birthday is something you're saying to a person once a year. So it's always nice to spell it out, right? Happy birthday. I mean, the nicest thing would be to send a birthday card to that person, but obviously, with our huge social network, it's impossible to send birthday cards to everyone. And also, we may not know the address to send birthday cards to. And I think these days, social media has made it so easy with smiley faces and flower images and emoticons and emojis that you don't even have to spell things out. You can just, click a button and, send a nice, colorful message with an image. Let's see. Billy writes, I used a payphone and I could remember 50 phone numbers without writing them down. Right. We used to be able to remember, like I could remember a lot of my friends' numbers when I was young. And when I was growing up and got my first first cell phone, and even in the days of land phones, there used to be a phone book right next to the land phone, right next to the landline. And if you needed to see a number, you would just flip the pages and see the number and just dial and call. It's pretty interesting. Um, Billy writes, it ruined us. Uh, Terry writes, did you notice Southern TV newscasters use a Midwest accent? Really, they do? I don't know. Well, I guess people move a lot. So, especially news reporters, you may have somebody from, I don't know, Alabama or Texas graduating college, maybe grew up in Alabama, grew up in Texas, graduated, but then got the first job in Minnesota as a news reporter, right? And likewise, you may have a Wisconsin person who grew up here, graduated from journalism, got a journalism degree, and got the first job, in Mississippi. So that's how you see different reporters with different accents. And because people move, they're where they grew up, they're not necessarily getting TV jobs in their own home state. Let's see. So Billy is writing, can't leave the house without your phone. Yeah, I and it's not just about the house. I mean, sometimes we carry our phones from one room to the next, right? I mean, I'm sitting here, I've got my phone, and when I go to the dining room, I may just pick up my phone and take it with me. Now, one of the reasons I do that is because I'm very active on social media. I'm very active on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, obviously. And so I get notifications that I have to check and respond to. And I like to do it in real time if I can, especially on a weekend when I've got more time. Anyway, let's see. Um, Terry writes, I like the Brooklyn accent. So, Billy, see, Terry is saying likes the Brooklyn accent. I can't really define the Brooklyn accent, but um, but I do understand people have different accents depending on where they're from. Billy writes, you or ending a sentence with like. I see a lot of people, I hear a lot of people, the younger folks, they end sentences with like, like. I get it. And I don't know. I don't know what to say. I hear that a lot. All right. Terry writes, LOL, I have never heard use. Oh, nice meeting yous. Oh, is that what they say? Nice meeting yous? I've never heard that. Billy writes, entertainers are trying to adapt to the UK accent. You know what's interesting is the British accent and the Australian accent. Um, those are very interesting, and so you'll see that in TV commercials there are in TV commercials nowadays they use the British accent or the Australian accent just to maybe just to draw attention. Um, yeah, I don't think they say Australia. They say Australia. That's how you say Australia if you're Australian. Uh, anyway, let's see. By the way, Australia has a very good cricket team. That country is very big in cricket. By the way, I don't know if you're familiar with the sport cricket. That's what I used to play growing up. That was my sport, cricket. And so Australia is one of the major international teams in cricket. So Australia, South Africa, England, India, Pakistan, Sri Lanka, and few other countries. Bangladesh is also, I mean, doing okay, trying hard. And then what other countries are there? West Indies, Holland used to play cricket. United Arab Emirates used to perform well. Kenya, Zimbabwe. These are some of the major cricket playing nations. Let's see. Um, all right. Terry writes, watching TV news in Oklahoma in the early 1970s, they were using Midwest accent. Okay, that's pretty cool. Um, Terry writes, my phone is my messenger, calendar, planner, shopping list. Oh yeah, for a lot of people, that's the thing. I write my shopping list electronically. You can just text yourself, or just use the a note taking software. Let's see. Billy writes, "How you doing?" Like, LOL. So Billy writes, "Getting big here." So Billy, when you say getting big here, I'm guessing you're referring to the sport cricket, right? What's happening is because of immigration, a lot of people from cricket playing nations, they are coming here, not just in the US, but also in Canada. And so that's how the sport is becoming more popular here. And you not only have people in America who watch cricket, but they also play cricket. Like right here in Madison, Wisconsin, where I live in the summer, there are certain parks in town where you can see people from South Asia and the Caribbean nations, and maybe also Europe. They play cricket. Let's see. Yep, it's a very interesting sport. Obviously, it's a British sport. It all started in the United Kingdom, and then it spread all over the world because the British had such a massive empire, right? So they had presence in so many different parts of the world, and so wherever they went, they took their game of cricket, and so that's how cricket became such a big sport in Asia, because the countries of India, Bangladesh, Pakistan. I mean, it was all part of the British Empire. Uh, let's see. Billy writes, "I see cricket equipment stores opening." Exactly, exactly. People play cricket and they demand the equipment, and cricket equipment is very expensive. Let me tell you that you need a lot of stuff to play cricket because you're going to have a helmet, a strong one, and then you're going to have, a pad over here. Usually, if you're a right-handed batsman, whichever hand is facing the bowler, you're gonna need protection here, and then you're gonna need gloves, and some other protection like thigh protection and some other things, um, depending on what kind of protection you want and how many gear you think you need. And then the wicket keeper, the person who stands behind those three stumps, that person also needs special gloves to be able to catch the ball. And then obviously the bowler really doesn't need much except the ball. But anyway, people do need lots of equipment, and those are pretty pricey stuff. Let's see. All right. So as I was saying, um, this total solar eclipse, it can be an occasion of joy for many, but then the doctors are warning that this event may actually cause anxiety among some people. And whenever something out of the ordinary happens, some people may feel a little anxious. I mean, think about the large crowds. If you are living in a community that's in the path of totality, and you suddenly see people from out of state, thousands of tourists, tens of thousands are traveling to your community, filling up the hotels, and they are out and about, and there's traffic in your community, in your neighborhood. And whenever you go to the store, you see long lines. At the gas station, you see long lines. That can create anxiety. And just the overall uncertainty of what an event like this may do, what kind of traffic would it generate. And if you're superstitious and you're thinking, oh, an eclipse, something bad may happen, it doesn't sound good. I mean, that can cause some anxiety. So the idea is to stay calm. Stay calm, stay as calm as you can. I'm actually pretty happy that Wisconsin is not in the path of totality. I mean, one would assume that uh, we would want to be in the path of totality, so we don't have to go anywhere, and we can enjoy the eclipse right from the home, or from the front porch or the patio or the backyard, or the sidewalk. Um, but I'm actually happy that we're not in the path of totality, which tells me we're not going to see the massive influx of out of state tourists all of a sudden coming here. Now, tourism is a good thing. I always encourage people to visit Wisconsin. So, all those folks who are watching me right now, if you're not from Wisconsin, please visit Wisconsin. Now is the perfect time. We've got spring. It seems like the cold weather may be behind us because today was a beautiful day. And going forward, I expect the weather to be nice for the most part. So I encourage tourism. Come to our state, check out the different places that we have in Wisconsin. And, because when tourists come, they stay here. We get tax revenue. Businesses are doing well. Restaurants are full of tourists, and people go out and shop. And that helps our economy. That helps our businesses. But in this case, I'm actually happy that we're not in the path of totality, just because in the places that are in the path of totality, a lot of those communities have declared state of emergency because of the uncertainty surrounding this event. So anyway, I'm just glad that we're not going to see a sudden influx of people for this eclipse. Terry writes, cheese days in Monroe this September. Cheese days is awesome, Terry. And Terry, guess where I was earlier today? Can you guess? Can you guess, Terry, where I was earlier today? I was in Monroe. Just earlier today, I was in Monroe. I had a great time in Monroe. So I was in Greene County, Monroe today. Anyway, my friends, I'm going to talk about economic impact. In Arkansas, the officials predict that the state could see $105 million from tax revenue to the state's economy because of this total solar eclipse, because Arkansas is one of the states in the path of totality. And so they expect a lot of people to come into the state. And as soon as the people come in, they're buying gas, they're going shopping, they're buying food, they're staying at hotels. And so as a result, Arkansas, the officials predict that they may see $105 million from tax revenue to the state's economy. So Arkansas officials are very happy. Businesses in Arkansas, they are looking forward to seeing more traffic and seeing more customers in the area. Let's see. Oh, I see a viewer has joined. All right. Let's see. Okay. So is this your first time in this live stream? I see the name that you have written. Is this your first time in this live stream? So whenever I see a viewer who has commented, and if I don't recall seeing you before, I like to ask if this is your first time so that we can give you a warm welcome. So welcome to this live stream. And I'm going to read your comment. Just like, they also end with right, which is an old sales trick. We were trained to nod our heads up and down, never side to side, and repeat right. A good salesman will have you agreeing. Okay. So you're talking about language and how we use language. Okay. All right. So is this your first time? Just please let us know where you're from. So, I usually ask this question, and you're free to let me know where you're from if you want to. I'm going to have to take a sip of my tea. Billy writes, I gotcha. All right. Okay. All right, my friend. So here's the other interesting thing about this eclipse. Some people are disappointed that there is some possibility of cloudy weather on the day of the eclipse. Cloudy weather. Because people want clear skies so that they can see the eclipse, so that they can see the moon cover the sun. And if there's cloudy weather, then all those folks who are spending a lot of money going out of state, traveling to different communities to see the eclipse, they won't get to enjoy the eclipse if they are looking up and they see clouds. How do you enjoy the eclipse then, right? All right. So let's see. So there's possibility of some cloudy weather, and people are praying so that the cloudy clouds go away. Okay, so you are from upstate New York. All right. So you are going to be in the path of totality, I guess, if you're going to be in New York. All right. So are you excited about the eclipse? Or you're not interested in it? I'm just taking a little break here. So you're not excited about the eclipse? Okay. All right. Yeah. I'm not too excited about it either. I mean, I understand a lot of states will benefit from the spending and all that, the tourism, and that's a good thing. But I don't know what the traffic's gonna be like. Billy is writing about a movie made by Gibson, which means Mel Gibson. I have not watched that movie, but I know exactly what movie you're talking about, and I think it's a 2006 movie, Billy. I have not watched it. It's it was produced and directed by Mel Gibson. Let's see. Mm, I'm reading. I'm reading about it on the internet here. I have not watched that movie, um, but now that you mention it, I may watch it. I know Mel Gibson um, is just a great figure in the world of movies. So I'm gonna watch it, hopefully soon. What other movies did Mel Gibson make here? Let's see. Um, I have not watched Braveheart either. Braveheart, I'm hoping to watch it. I have the movie. I have not watched Braveheart either. Although I know, Billy, you're not talking about Braveheart. You're talking about the movie. Yeah, I know which one you're talking about. Uh, but anyway, I'm just looking at Mel Gibson movies. So the movie you're talking about is called Apocalypto, right? Apocalypto, is that how it's pronounced? Anyway, but Braveheart is also on my list, but I have not watched it yet. Yeah, Billy writes Braveheart the best. I haven't watched it. I've watched a lot of movies in my life, lots and lots and lots of movies. I have not watched Braveheart, but that's on my list. Um, let's see. Um, uh, so I'm just, anyway, I just got distracted because I was looking at the Mel Gibson list of movies. Um, so anyway, we have a new viewer from upstate New York. Thank you for joining, and I hope you know you get to continue to stay connected to this channel, and please subscribe if you have not done so already. That would be great. That way, I'm guessing you'll get notifications whenever I'm publishing a video. So thank you for that. And let me see. So do you guys remember this? When we had the last, when we had the eclipse last time, I think it was in 2017. And so I just saw the video. I remember seeing it back then, but I also saw it today again. I played video clips from old news. Uh, it was President Donald Trump and Melania Trump, and their son. They were at the White House, and wearing those glasses, the solar eclipse glasses, and Donald Trump and Melania Trump, along with their son, they were looking at the eclipse, and you know, at at one point, and this was a huge discussion in the news back then. At one point, Donald Trump, he took off his glasses, but then he still like looked up at the sun, and the media made a big deal out of it. And there was a lot of discussion. Obviously, every chance that the media gets, they like to criticize Donald Trump. Not every member of the media. I shouldn't say that, but you know who I'm talking about. The liberal media. They like to criticize Donald Trump and criticize anything that he does, anything that he says. So the liberal media published like lots of news articles about Donald Trump. Why did he look up um, towards the eclipse without wearing glasses? I mean, he did wear glasses, but then he took the glasses off and he looked up a little bit. It was just maybe like a second or two, or a fraction of a second. But they zoomed in on that picture. They zoomed in on the image of Donald Trump looking up without the eclipse glasses. And I was just reading those news articles again. Anyway, I don't think people should, um, in terms of the eclipse, the doctors always advise that you should not look at the eclipse with your naked eye. That's all I know. I don't know what it does to the eye, to be honest with you, what kind of damage there may be, and how exactly any damage is caused. But anyway, I'm not planning on looking at the eclipse anyway. So let's see. Billy has some comments about Braveheart. Thank you, Billy, for that information. Anyway, my friends, what I will encourage you also is, since you're connected to my channel, please check out some of the short videos that I post. Those are very different from um, my live stream and my regular videos, because those are YouTube shorts, and it's mostly about me cooking some dish or going someplace, or capturing a short video clip of a nice scenery, a scenic drive, a scenic view. But check out those short videos, and comment on those if you want, if you like something that you saw. My friends, overall, I'm just gonna say this total solar eclipse, it's a major event. There's no doubt about that. It's a major event, and people have different beliefs. As I said, some think, oh, it's just fine, and then there are others who think that, who believe in superstitions surrounding the eclipse, and they see this as something that's uh, not great, as something that's not, you know, an eclipse is. A lot of people believe that an eclipse is not something that we should be excited about or happy about. So there are spiritual beliefs, there are superstitions, and then there are those who don't worry about it. They're just going to enjoy the eclipse, whatever it may be. I think we all need to be a little calm, okay? Because as I mentioned earlier, according to law enforcement, there are patterns of road rage and domestic violence during an eclipse. And so people need to be a little bit calm. There can be some anxiety, and the anxiety may be driven by superstition, or the anxiety may be driven by the reality on the ground, which is like there's going to be a lot of movement of people, a lot of traffic, a lot of huge influx of people in the communities that are in the path of totality. And so that can cause the visitors to be a little anxious and to be a little um, uh, excited. But then it can also cause the residents of those communities to be a little anxious and a little excited. So I think people need to be calm and just follow the law, be calm, be nice to people. And if you want to enjoy the eclipse, enjoy the eclipse. If you don't want to enjoy the eclipse, just stay inside or don't look at the sky. Okay. So that's all I can say. But we all need to be safe. We all need to make sure that we are treating everyone else with respect. If there's traffic on the road and people are honking, it's probably not very nice. I don't know what's going to happen. I think after the eclipse, we're gonna learn a lot more about what happened in what community, and how everything went, and there'll be lots to learn afterwards. Let's see. Billy writes, read his father's book, The Enemy is Here. So Billy is recommending a book to me written by Mel Gibson's father. Is that what you're saying? I'm going to look up that book here. Okay. All right. Billy, thank you for that recommendation. I'm going to look that book up, okay? Thank you for that. Let's see. Terry writes, eclipse is a cool experience, but there's a total eclipse every couple of years somewhere. It's not unique. Right, Terry. So there is total eclipse in some part of the world every few years. But I think what people are very excited about in the US is that US is going to be a huge part of the US is going to be on the path of totality. So the next eclipse, I haven't seen the eclipse schedule, but the next eclipse, maybe the path of totality would be in some different country or some different continent. And that's why I mentioned I saw a news report about a woman who travels to different parts of the world based on the eclipse schedule, and she experiences the eclipse in different parts of the world. So she's one of those people who travels and goes to wherever the eclipse, the path of totality will be, just to be able to experience that. So obviously, people have different tastes, different choices, different interests. Um, Billy writes, I felt my house shake Friday. Yeah, there was that earthquake. 4.8 is a pretty big deal for New York. Uh, and then let's see. Mm, Billy writes, if you can't find it, let me know. The book that you're mentioning, Billy, I think. Let me just see here. I'm gonna look it up here. Um, that book, um, that book is available on Amazon. I think I'm seeing it here. That book is on Amazon. The library may have it too. I wonder what the book is about. I have not. That I don't know. So if you want to share a little bit with me on that, that'd be great. What genre is the book? Mm, let's see. Anyway, I'm gonna look it up afterwards. Okay. Terry writes it was scary. Billy writes the house bounced. Did your house bounce? Oh wow. So Billy, are you did you say that you were in Brooklyn, but you're not in Brooklyn now, or are you? Do you still? You said you grew up in Brooklyn until I moved out, and okay. So are you in Brooklyn now, or are you in some other um part of New York? Uh, are you in Brooklyn now, Billy? Let's see. Terry writes, "My brother in California doesn't even get excited anymore." Well, Terry, isn't earthquake more common in California, but in New York, people don't really expect earthquake, right? I mean, it came as a shock, and the fact that it came as a, I mean, the fact that it happened right before the eclipse, that made a lot of people worried. So Billy writes Queens. So Billy is in Queens. Okay, wonderful, Billy. Thanks for sharing that. So yeah, Queens was definitely affected. So Billy, are you seeing a lot of migrants in Queens? Uh, what's the situation there with the migrants? See, I haven't mentioned the illegal immigration issue at all in this live stream because I'm busy talking about solar eclipse. But what's the situation right now, Billy? How are things? Are you seeing a lot of migrants or not so much? Okay, let's see. All right, I'll wait for Billy to respond. But just because I'm not talking about the border crisis today doesn't mean I'm not going to talk about it. Obviously, I will talk about it because it's just getting worse. And so you see some of the states that are going to be in the path of totality are the states that are being impacted because of the border crisis. I'm talking about Texas. Texas is the big name that everyone's mentioning whenever we talk about the solar eclipse, because there are communities in Texas that will be, that are in the path of totality. But then again, New York, obviously, New York is facing a migrant crisis. Illinois is facing a migrant crisis, and some other places. Anyway, so Billy writes, "LOL. Yes, a lot of panhandling on certain corners. Yep, that's something that I see here in Madison also. Somebody will stand at a traffic light with a sign, a cardboard sign, or maybe a box torn up, and they write asylum seeker or refugee or migrant asking for help. Anything helps, and they collect money from people. So I see that here in Madison also. Um, Billy is writing about Brooklyn. Let me read the comment here. Yeah, so Billy is writing, Brooklyn Flatbush Avenue is looking sad to see mothers and kids going up to cars when they stop. Yeah, I mean, I think the migrants, they come here and they have a very wrong idea about US, because I heard that a lot of the migrants, they just assume that once you get to America, everything's free. Everything's free. You're going to get free housing, free food. Because I think they hear about what's happening in New York and in Chicago and in Denver, and they hear about the free housing and the free food, the free medical services. And so a lot of migrants, they come into the US thinking, oh, once you get to the US, all your problems are solved. Everything's going to be free. Little do they know about the struggles that many Americans face, right? I mean, many Americans cannot afford food. Many Americans cannot afford decent housing. Many Americans cannot afford medical services. And so, people thinking that once you get to the US, everything's going to be free. And once they end up here, obviously, many do get free stuff because I've talked about it so many times on this channel. Migrants are getting free housing, free food, free medical services. Well, then again, nothing's free because the taxpayers are paying for all that stuff. But anyway, a lot of migrants are getting stuff that they don't have to pay for. So it's free to them. It's not free to the taxpayers. But then there are many migrants who are pretty helpless once they get here. And then you see those folks panhandling. They are out there standing at traffic lights and collecting money from people. It's not the most ideal situation. And so people come here thinking all the problems are going to be solved once you get to the US, but that's really not the case, because the American citizens have a lot of problems that we are dealing with. So, life is not a bed of roses. It just never will be. But what's happening because of illegal immigration is that the problems are just getting worse, because now the American taxpayers have to bear the cost of all the free stuff that the migrants are getting, and we cannot afford to do that. Billy writes, okay, let's see. Yeah, so I'm reading Billy's comment. So yeah, I mean, if you look at the Biden administration, what they're basically doing is they're keeping the border open, and they're allowing people to come in, and those migrants are coming in expecting free stuff, but we don't have free stuff because we're running out of resources. Um, Billy writes, they are dressed for summer, no winter clothes. Exactly. A lot of the migrants are coming from places around the world where the climate is warm. Okay, whether you're talking about South Asia or Africa or some of the South American countries, South American, Central American countries, those are places where the climate is warm, right? And so when migrants, they come through Mexico, and Mexico is also a warm place, and they come into the U.S., and then what do they see once you go to New York? I mean, it gets really cold in New York. And Chicago, it's called the Windy City. It's cold, it's chilly, it's windy several months out of the year. And so, they're not prepared to deal with this. And like I said, our resources are running out. Billy writes, why do they come to a cold climate? LOL. I don't know, Billy. I don't know. I don't know why they make that I mean, it's one thing if you are an informed individual and you're choosing, um, because you see legal immigrants, people who are coming into the United States legally. They come here for work, they come here for education, and they come here as an immigrant, and many people choose cold climates. When I came to the US, I chose a cold climate. I chose that on purpose. It was a decision that I made. But that's a whole different scenario. But the illegal immigrants who are coming in, they're coming here without authorization, without visa, without permission. They don't have legal status. They're just coming in, walking across the border, hoping for free stuff, and they're not prepared. They don't have clothes. They don't have jackets, warm clothes, jackets. They don't have covering for their heads. They don't have protection for their hands. They don't have heavy boots that people need in the winter. So they are not equipped. They are not prepared to deal with winter weather. And so a lot of those folks are here in places like Chicago and New York, absolutely not prepared for the winter, and then they're stuck in a very bad situation. And why is it happening? It's happening because of the Biden administration. The Biden administration continues to keep the border open, and it's causing a lot of pain and suffering for Americans, and also a lot of the migrants who are coming in, only to realize that, hey, life's not that smooth. America is not somewhere where you just go and all your problems vanish. You know, People come here, the natural born citizens of America and the naturalized citizens of America, they all have to work hard. They all have to earn money, pay taxes, try to make ends meet, deal with this inflation, deal with the energy price hike, deal with so many problems. So people are dealing with a lot of problems. Those who are natural born, those who are naturalized. So it's just mind-boggling how illegal immigrants can think that they're just going to come to the US and all their problems will be solved, but then they find out that's not the case. But then again, when people see that migrants are getting free medical services and free housing and free food in Chicago and New York, those things just send a wrong message to the people around the world. And you know uh, that's the enticement that brings them to the US. And it's all because of the Joe Biden administration and all the liberal politicians who continue to call their communities sanctuaries. Terry Brait writes, because of the free hotel rooms. Terry Brait, welcome to the live stream. Thank you for joining. Um, Oh, Terry Brait writes because of the free hotel rooms. Yeah, a lot of the migrants know they're going to get free hotel rooms, right? That's why they come here. Maybe they expect that they're going to get free clothes, which I'm sure they do. There are lots of charitable organizations that give free clothes and free other necessities to the migrants. Um, so Terry is writing about Mexico keeping immigrants back now. You know, a lot of the damage has already been done, Terry, as you and I both know. I mean, more than 10 million illegal immigrants have entered the United States since Joe Biden came to power. And so if now Mexico helps the US to reduce illegal immigration, I mean the damage is done. We got 10 plus million people on top of lots and lots of illegal immigrants who are already here for many years. On top of that, since Joe Biden came to office, more than 10 million came into the country illegally. So, even if they reduce the influx of migrants now, I mean, there are people already here who are drawing benefits from the resources that American citizens have, who are taking advantage of free stuff paid for by American taxpayers. Um, Billy writes, Motels and hotels are loaded with our homeless. Okay. Uh, Let me see some comments here. I see a comment about the illegal immigrants and their physical condition. Um, about processed foods, yeah, hard for me to draw the conclusion, but obviously processed foods lead to a lot of health problems, as we know. Billy writes, people are dropping off clothes to them at Floyd Bennett Field. Okay, so they still have migrants at Floyd Bennett Field, huh? Okay, I talked about Floyd Bennett Field. I think it was a while back. Um, So yeah, Terry writes, it's not to help America, it's to make Biden look good pre-election. Well, Terry, I think the American people can see what Biden has done. So, what he has done, I mean, his policies have taken America on a path to economic destruction. That's what's happening. Our dollars are being spent on the migrants. We are suffering because of inflation. We can't afford gas, and we're losing energy. We are not energy independent anymore. We were energy independent when Trump was in office, but not anymore. So, Biden's administration is never going to look good because people can see the damage that the Biden administration has done to the economy. Uh, okay. All right. Okay, so I see some comments here. All right. It's just wonderful to see people have tuned in for this live stream. My friend Terry Dunlap from South Dakota, Teresa Ross from Arizona, and Billy Wiggins from Queens. And we have a new viewer here from upstate New York. And then let's see. Did I miss anyone? It's always wonderful to let's see. That's why I'm thinking something is gonna happen before the election because so Trump, responding to Billy, Trump is on his path to victory. I think the way Trump is performing, he's gonna win the election. That's my prediction. If we have free and fair election, Trump's gonna win because people can compare the Trump years with the Biden years. And even a lot of Democrats, they remember that the economy was doing so well under Trump, and now with Biden in power, things are bad. And so I think a lot of people, a lot of Democrats, moderate Democrats, they're not going to vote for Biden anymore. I mean, look at what Dwayne The Rock Johnson said. I talked about this yesterday. So the actor and the WWE superstar, The Rock, the guy who says, if you smell what The Rock is cooking, and he does his people's elbow and the rock bottom, you remember? Dwayne The Rock Johnson. Dwayne The Rock Johnson expressed his regret. He regrets endorsing Joe Biden in 2020. And he's saying, Dwayne The Rock Johnson is saying that for 2024, he's not going to endorse Biden. Let's see. Billy is writing about another pandemic. Well, Billy, I just published a video earlier today in which I talked about bird flu, okay, bird flu, and how much that might, that might impact our food, our economy, and our freedoms. Will there be another pandemic? Will there be a bird flu pandemic? Because there is a report of bird flu being of bird flu infecting a human being. So if bird flu can be transmitted, if it has gone from animals to humans, as we know from a recent case, I think in Texas, a man, I think it's a man who has the bird flu infection. So if this becomes a big issue, will there be another pandemic? And what I'm worried about is obviously the physical the medical aspect, if there's another pandemic, if there's another virus, people are going to get sick, people will be affected by that. But my bigger concern is about the economy. So the the COVID outbreak resulted in liberal politicians announcing mask mandates and vaccine mandates and stay-at-home orders and shutdowns and lockdowns and social distancing, and so many businesses went out of business because of the economic effects, the adverse effects. And when government forces businesses to close their doors, it leads to a lot of problems. It just it halts productive activities, and it results in economic devastation. That's what happened during COVID outbreak. And so if there's another pandemic, a bird flu pandemic or whatever it may be, um, what is that going to do to our economy, and what is that going to do to our freedoms? Because I don't think the government has the right to shut down a business, especially a business that's not violating any laws or rules. And so what the government did during COVID, they came up with new restrictions, which I believe are unconstitutional. You cannot order a business to implement social distancing and to stay closed, or to have capacity limits. I think that's just wrong, but that's what happened in many liberal areas of the country. And so many businesses suffered great losses as a result. And so our economy is still facing the adverse impacts of all the shutdowns and lockdowns that were enforced during COVID. And so another pandemic, if that happens, it's going to completely destroy our economy, and we cannot allow that to happen. Let's see. Billy writes, "The Rock is done. Hollywood is going to isolate." you know, um, I don't know what to say. I guess we're going to have to wait and see if Hollywood isolates The Rock. The Rock is a pretty big name. I was sad to see that he endorsed Biden in 2020, but I'm happy to see that he is not going to endorse Biden in 2024. All right, let's see. Terry Brett is writing the Irish. So you're talking about the Irish and the immigration issues in Ireland. I have not followed that very closely. I haven't paid much attention. But now that Terry Brett is writing about immigration and Ireland, I'm gonna be talking about I'm gonna be reading about it. Okay, I don't know if I'll be talking about it. I might, but see, I get to learn a lot from the live streams, because my friends, you are sharing with me some information that I may not know, that I may not have known about. So, like, Terry Brett is writing about the Irish and Ireland and the immigration issues there. So now that prompts me to do a little bit of reading about immigration in Ireland. So I'll read about it. Um, all right, let's see. Ireland. Mm, So, who's TV Tony? I don't know who's TV Tony. Let's see. Mm. So I want to ask the new viewer. I see your acronym. Um, is there any? So I don't know if I should ask your real name, but would you give me a real first name so I can address you by that, because I see your acronym, uh, and I don't know if I should address you using that acronym. So if you would give me your just your first name, Tom. Okay, Tom. So that's your first name. All right, I'm gonna address you by Tom. All right, Tom. So who's TV Tony? I don't know who's TV Tony, Tom. So let's see. I'm gonna look it up. Mm, give me 1 second here. Uh, I've got my laptop. Oh yeah. Oh, okay. TV Tony. You're referring to Tony Fauci. Got it. Got it. All right. Yeah. Well, what can I say? What can I say about TV Tony? Um, it was it was a bad decision to have Fauci in front of the cameras doing daily briefings. I think that was a mistake. Obviously, we didn't know that you know a lot of people couldn't figure out that it was a mistake back then as it was happening. But now, in retrospect, as we look at the events of the past, it seems that it was a mistake to have Tony Fauci doing the daily briefings and talking about COVID. It was just anyway. I mean, Trump was on his way to being reelected in 2020, and then this whole COVID thing, it just changed everything. It changed the world. Not so much COVID, but it was government's response to COVID. Uh, Uh, Terry Britt is writing about Fauci and vaccine. By the way, I'm not vaccinated. Okay, I did not get the COVID vaccine, and you know, um, I didn't have to, and I didn't want to, and I made the informed decision to not get the COVID vaccine, and I'm so happy that I did not get the COVID vaccine. That's just my personal view, personal preference. Let's see. Um, well, Terry, I see the emoticon, the emoji you put right after writing the word Fauci. All right, let's see. Billy writes, when I'm on trains, I wear the mask. Okay. Terry Brait writes, I did not get one vax, thank God. Yep. Tom also writes, no mRNA here. Billy writes, good. Yeah, I didn't get the vaccine. I didn't have to, and I feel really sad for those people who were forced to get the vaccine just to keep their jobs. I mean, that was so wrong. That was so wrong. A lot of people, they either had to get the vaccine, and if they did not get the vaccine, they lost their jobs, and that was just so wrong. And you know what I'll tell you is um, let's see. Did I write any? Let me just see. I wrote lots of letters to editors and op-eds, and I wrote some opinion pieces. Like for example, there's one that's titled "End the Mask Mandate Immediately." This was written in 2021, and then also I back in 2021. I wrote a letter to the editor, which is titled Wisconsin Colleges Should Not Mandate COVID-19 Vaccine. Remember, colleges were saying you'd have to get the vaccine. They were saying this to the students. I don't think every college, but there were many. So I was saying, no, that should not be happening. Wisconsin colleges should not mandate COVID-19 vaccine. Um, let's see. I'm Billy writes. Billy writes. Why didn't you have to? I didn't have to get the vaccine. I was not required. I didn't have to. So I just did not. Okay, but people who work for certain organizations that required the vaccine, I think some hospitals and health systems, they basically said to their employees, get the vaccine. If you don't, you lose your job. So no vaccine mandate for me. But obviously, I live in Dane County, Wisconsin, and Dane County had the mask mandate, which I absolutely hated. So I had to wear masks when I went out or, in some stores. Now, I wore the mask as less as I could. So I only put the mask on wherever it was absolutely necessary, like going to a doctor's appointment or going inside a private building where the mask was mandated. I absolutely hated wearing the mask, but I did it. Um, but whenever I was outside, I just took it off. I took it off, and it's kind of strange that there were people who, like you, I'm sure you all saw these examples in your own cities and states. I mean, remember, a lot of people, you could see that, when you stop at a stoplight, at a traffic signal, and you look at the car next to you and you see there's a person driving the vehicle and there's no one else in the vehicle and that person's wearing a mask. I mean, it's so ridiculous. If you're the only one in your vehicle, why are you wearing a mask? Why? Anyway, but I did, because I live in Dane County. As I was going to different places in the county, different buildings, offices, I had to wear the mask where it was required. But whenever I got out of the building, I just took it off. Okay. Anyway, let's see. Uh, Terry Brait writes, I wore a mask in public because it was mandated and I didn't want to make a scene about it. Although I respect those brave enough to say, yeah, there are many people who rejected the mask even in places where the mask was mandated. So I shared this story about a friend of mine who lives in Wisconsin. She's a senior citizen, and so she told me how she went inside a store. I'm not going to mention the name of the store, but she went inside the store and she was not wearing the mask because doesn't like wearing the mask, and also because if she wears the mask and she is walking inside that big store, it causes breathing difficulty. So what ended up happening was, the store associates, the manager, this is what she told me. The store associate called the manager and a few people from the store, the employees, they basically escorted her out of the building. So they escorted her, they told her, you can't be in here because you're not wearing a mask. We want you to leave. So they basically escorted her to the door, and basically she was not welcome at the store. And this is just ridiculous, okay? And I had, clearly, I mean, I may have had more than one, but clearly one incident that I remember. uh I went inside a building. I think it was a store. I forget what store it was, but I remember what the person, what one of the employees of the facility did. Came running towards me and said, "Sir, you have to put the mask on. You have to put the mask on. Please wear your mask." I'm like, "All right, all right, all right, all right." You know, and I shared this yesterday. For a while I thought, "Oh my God, is there an emergency?" Like, I'm looking around and thinking, who is this person screaming at? And the person who was speaking loudly and screaming at me was also wearing a mask, and so the voice was muffled, and I didn't understand what she was. All I could hear was, and I was thinking, what's going on? Is there an emergency? Is there like fire alarms? Is somebody sick? Is there an ambulance? What's going on? And then I realized the person was screaming at me and saying, "Sir, you gotta wear the mask. You gotta wear the mask." Anyway, it's just like so many stories we have that we can share, right? I mean, all those crazy things that happened. And even yesterday, I saw two people wearing masks inside a grocery store. I mean, really, come on. And they didn't look like now. I understand if you, for example, if you've got a viral whatever, and you're sneezing, you're coughing, and maybe you were in the clinic and you just got discharged and you're returning from the doctor's clinic and they told you that you may have some viral something. I understand. You should probably wear a mask then. But it's like the two people I saw at the grocery store yesterday, they look perfectly healthy otherwise. I mean, you know But they were wearing a mask. All right. I mean, if it makes a person feel good, if wearing a mask makes a person feel good, so be it. Wear a mask. But what I don't want is government mandating it. That's what I don't want. I don't want government forcing people to wear masks. If somebody wants to wear masks all day long, do it. It's a free country. You can wear a mask. You can be the only one in your home. Put the mask on if you want to. All right? You may be the only one in your vehicle and you're driving on an empty highway and you want to wear a mask, wear it. But the government should not force other people to wear masks. The government should not force anyone to wear masks. I mean, it's a personal decision. It's a personal choice. That's what I think it should be. All right. So Billy writes, still eat plenty of oranges for the vitamin C. Yep, oranges are good. Yeah, I think vitamin really helps. Vitamin does help. Okay, Billy is writing about a case in which police reportedly forced hair place. So I'm guessing it was a salon to close. And the girl kept saying, I'm going to end up home. See, that's what happened. The government, with all their mandates and rules and regulations, they forced such strong rules and regulations, which I think are unconstitutional. The government can't just come up with whatever they want, whatever rule they want. So I think it's unconstitutional. But what the government did to hurt small businesses, it's just heartbreaking. Okay, forcing salons to close and forcing small businesses to close, and it's just ridiculous. It is just ridiculous. There was a lot of unrest in Dane County where I live because some of the businesses were just not happy with all these mandates. Let's see some comments here. Tom writes, wearing a mask equals to nodding your head in agreement. Yeah. So Terry is writing, if a person wants to wear boxer shorts on his head, he should be allowed to do that. You know, if a person wants to wear boxer shorts on the head, I guess it's okay. I don't know. Billy writes, tell bars, no smoking. So, you know, we all want a free society. We want people to live their lives the way they want. If they're not breaking any law, people should just be able to live their lives. And the government should not be coming up with all these fancy laws out of thin air. I mean, if a government entity decides that it is by law you have to wear a mask, well, that's not a law. Okay, that's tyranny. Okay, that's not a law. That's basically forcing people to do things that are unconstitutional. Anyway, let me see some comments here. Yeah, the governors, they need to step up. And we know there are some great governors. Look at Greg Abbott, great governor. Ron DeSantis, great governor. And my friend Terry Dunlap is in a state that has a really awesome governor, and that's Kristi Noem. Okay. Let's see. Tom writes, young people should read 1984. Yep. Orwell. Everyone should read 1984. George Orwell. All right. Let's see. Terry writes, Governor Noem. Terry is excited because I mentioned Governor Noem's name. She is such an awesome governor. And, you know, we still wonder who's going to be Trump's VP? Who's going to be Trump's vice president? You know, Biden chose Kamala Harris. And RFK Jr. chose Nicole Shanahan. Who is Trump gonna choose? So Billy is giving another book recommendation here, Billy. Thanks, Billy, for the book recommendations. Let me look it up. Mm, let's see. Give me 1 second here. Pi. Okay, so you're writing about, is it Thomas Paine? Let's see. Let's see. Okay, so I got this book right here. Let's see. Uh, Thomas Paine, Common Sense, Uncommon Sense, or Common Sense. Mm, you wrote Uncommon Sense, or is it? I think it's Common Sense, right? By Thomas Paine. Mm, so, I, talking about Nicole Shanahan, RFK Jr.'s vice presidential pick. Nicole Shanahan may help RFK Jr. get some Democrat votes, which means there will be less Democrat votes for Joe Biden, which is a good thing for Trump. Yeah, Billy writes Common. So it's Common Sense by Thomas Paine. Yeah, I have it. I'm looking it up. I haven't read it. I should have read it, but I'll read it now. All right. Okay. So, any other book recommendations for me? Let's see. What books do I have right here? Let's see. Yeah, I have a bunch of books that I have to read. So 24 hours in a day are not enough for me. I need 34 hours in a day so that I have more time to read books. Yeah. By the way, Terry, I was as I mentioned, I was in Monroe today. It was such a beautiful day, and driving to Greene County and back was really awesome. And I always enjoy going to Monroe, Monroe, Wisconsin. It's Monroe is a nice city at the Wisconsin Illinois border, so we can call Monroe a border city, right? But it's not the U.S. Mexico border; it's the Wisconsin Illinois border. Billy writes, I have a library, LOL. I too have a library, Billy. I have a well, it's not so small. I have lots of books. I have two shelves full of books right here in my room. And then I have more books that are in boxes. And then when I left Bangladesh to come to the US, I left behind lots and lots of books. So if you take those books into account, the ones that I left behind in Bangladesh, and if you take into account the books that I have here on shelves in boxes, I have lots of books. And I still keep buying more. I still keep buying and collecting more books. So my collection just grows. Terry writes, did you ever visit their campaign headquarters? You mean the Greene County Republican Party campaign headquarters? I don't believe so, Terry. I have not visited the campaign headquarters. Not that I can remember, but I would love to. Uh, all right, let's see. Yeah, Billy, there are lots of controversies surrounding different books, right? So there are books that conservatives like to read and promote that the liberals don't like, and there are some far left progressive agenda books that are just crazy stuff that us conservatives, the sensible people, the reasonable individuals, we don't like those. But people can read what they want and form their own opinions. But I just think that we need common sense, and I'm not referring to common sense as in like Thomas Paine's publication Common Sense. I'm just saying we need just common sense in general. Let's see. Terry writes, people, I have to say bye. I love you all. Thank you, Terry. I'm also going to wrap up this live stream here very soon because we're getting close to the 1 hour 45-minute time mark. And so, I usually try to wrap up before the 2 hour mark. So Terry, have a wonderful night. Thank you for being here. Your participation in the live chat is always appreciated, and have a wonderful time. And Terry obviously lives in a wonderful state, South Dakota. All right. Billy writes, "Common sense will make you think." I'm gonna read Thomas Paine's Common Sense. Thank you for mentioning that, Billy. Appreciate it. Let's see. Uh, all right. So Tom, are you also leaving, or are you just saying goodnight to Terry, or are you leaving? I'm gonna be here a few more minutes, I think, uh, just to see what else we can discuss in the final few minutes before I end this live stream. I'll try to do a live stream tomorrow also. I know tomorrow is Sunday, but I'll try to do a live stream. Um, all right. All right, my friends. I think what I'm going to do is wrap up this live stream now. Um, Tom thinks I thought you were out. No, I'm still here. If there are things you want to discuss, I'll be here. But otherwise, I can wrap this up, and I'll try to do a live stream tomorrow. And Tom, thank you for being here, and thank you for joining this live stream. I hope you'll stay connected, my friends. I just want to tell you one more thing. I have a newsletter that I send out, and initially I thought it would be a weekly newsletter. It's free. It just goes into your email. But now it's more like once every 2 weeks. So once every 2 weeks, I send out a newsletter. And so if you would like to receive that from me, please let me know your email address, okay? Let me know your email address, and I can send you that e-newsletter. It goes out to hundreds of people, okay? I have a list of hundreds of people who receive that newsletter. And so, if you want to receive it, all I need is your email address. So you can send me an email at tosif@tosifanam.net. tosif@tosifanam.net. You can email me, and that way I'll have your email address, and I'll add you to my e-newsletter list. Hundreds of my friends receive that e-newsletter, okay? And it contains my personal message. It contains links to my blog posts, updates from me, what I have been up to, pictures from my travels. It's just something that I like to share with my friends and followers. So if you want to receive my e-newsletter, please let me know. All I need is your email address, and I'll add you to the list. So Tom says, "I enjoyed it very much. I watched a different one first." Thank you, Tom. Please stay connected. And Billy, thank you for joining. Terry already left, I'm guessing, so we appreciate Terry's participation very much. And then also Terry Brait, thank you for joining. Earlier, Teresa Ross was here, I think. I don't know if Teresa Ross is still here. Teresa Ross, if you're listening, I just want to say thank you for your participation. And I'm going to wrap up this live stream. Thank you all very much. I hope you have a wonderful night. And I'll be back again with more videos and more live streams. So please stay connected with me. And also tell your friends about my channel. Help me spread my message of freedom. Thank you, my friends. Have a wonderful night. I'll be back again soon.